Going to record. See, I'm getting really good at this. Okay, so today we are doing per Kafres or 28. Last week we did 26, and the reason I didn't do 27 is that's one that you know well, the David Hashem Eiri, which we've done twice. So it's it's what?
We started soon.
We start saying it soon. I don't think we'll do it again because we did it last year and the year before. So unless you want it, we won't do it. Okay. So if everyone can mute their mic and then we'll start. So this Perek Chavches, it's according to a lot of opinions, it's just a continuation of the last Perek. In the last Perek, David HaMelech says, Hashem, be my light, be my look after me, and in this one it's don't hide from me. Okay, it's like seems to be a continuation. The Mepharshim point out that Kaf Ches is number 28, which is the same gematria as the word Kayach. Kayach meaning meaning strength. And the Mepharshim point out to us that when we say Tehilim, it's supposed to provide us with strength. And this kapitel of Tehilim is going to tell us the secret of what will give us strength when we say Tehilim. And so the commentaries give all different opinions. What is the secret of having strength, of having this kayach? And they say this perek explains to us that a person who believes in Hashem has kayach. They get kayach, and the more we believe in Hashem, the more strength we have to face whatever challenges we have to face. And that's a lot of what David HaMelech is going to speak about in this kapitel of Tehilim. Just to point out to you that this kapitel begins with the words LeDavid, for David, from Perek Chaf Daled 24 until now. Every single perek began with the words LeDavid. This is the last one of that. And so it begins. It says, LeDavid Elecha Hashem Akra. LeDavid, okay, Elecha Hashem Akra, to you Hashem I call out. Tsuri, my rock, Al Techerash Mimenu, don't be quiet from me or don't ignore me. Pen Teches Mimenu, because if you don't respond to me, even I will sink to the depths. In other words, I'll get very depressed. I'll get very, very sad. So begins by saying, Elecha Hashem Akra, to you Hashem I call out. And this is a very constant theme of Tehilim, calling out to Hashem. No matter what goes on in our lives, we need to call out to Hashem. So we call out to Hashem most often, unfortunately, when we need something, when we want something, whether it's small or big. But we have to train ourselves to call out to Hashem, not only for when we need things, but just simply to say hello, to thank him, for all different reasons. In happiness, we should all be calling out to please God in only in happiness. And Rabbi Tversky uses the expression, he says, Yiddishkeit is not a religion, it's a relationship. What we're trying to do in Yiddishkeit is to build a relationship with Hashem. When you have a good relationship with someone, you talk to them, you communicate with them, you have different ways of communicating with them, but one of the big ways of communicating with someone who you want to have a relationship with is calling out to them, is talking to them, is letting them know how you're feeling, when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're thankful, when you're cross, right? You tell the person who you have a relationship with. And this is what we have to do with Hashem. We have to keep on calling out to him and tell him where we are, how we're feeling, what's happening. And this happens both with formal davening, okay, our regular formal davening, but probably even more so with our informal davening, where we driving in our car and we ask Hashem, please help me find my way. Please make sure that the robots are all green because I'm late. Please help me find a parking place. This is all calling out to Hashem as well. And we actually have to train ourselves to be talking to Hashem, all the time. The Mishpacha magazine had a beautiful story recently about a girl whose mother told her, if you don't want to daven, then let me give you two instructions. When you wake up in the morning, say, please, Hashem can have a good day. And before you go to sleep at night, say, thank you, Hashem, for the day. So she got herself used to just in the morning waking up and saying, please, and in the night going to bed and saying, thank you. And she wrote a beautiful story about how she connected to Hashem and how her emunah and belief and her ability to face challenges were all because of these two words, please and thank you. So yes, we have to get ourselves to get used to saying please, thank you, and all other feelings. Elecha Hashem ekra, says David HaMelech. Call out to Hashem at all times. David HaMelech explains in the next line. He says, "Tsuri, you are my rock." And we speak of it even in English. We use this expression, my rock, means someone to lean on, someone to rely on, someone who's there for us is our rock. But the Gemara says, take this one step further, and the Gemara says, don't read it as tsuri, but read it as tsairi, my sculptor. And says the Gemara, rather than seeing Hashem just as a rock, we should know that Hashem is the artist who created us. And Hashem is the greatest artist. He doesn't just make a picture on the outside, but he also filled us with organs and veins and the arteries and all things inside as well. Imagine this kind of artwork that he does. And when we think about that, then we realize the greatness of Hashem. And the more we realize the greatness of Hashem, the more likely we are to call on him and to have this relationship with him. But HaMelech says, Al techarash mimenu, don't give me the silent treatment. So anyone who has a relationship with someone who gives the silent treatment knows that that's probably one of the worst things. I have a friend who's when her husband gets cross with her, he's quiet. He can go through days and weeks without speaking to her, and it's absolutely the worst. She said to me, if he would just scream at her, like if only he would just shout, okay, we want to have some kind of response. Silence, okay, is one of the things that is the worst. And we have the same thing with the Eibishter, that we don't want Hashem just to be silent. He does al techarash mimenu, don't be silent with me. The Ma'am Lois gives a mashal to explain this, and he says, when a child is leaving home, the child says to the parents, cries and says to the parent, what's going to happen? What happens if I get lost? What happens if I need things? How am I going to manage when I've left home without you? And the parent says, don't worry, whatever you need, you'll send me a note, you'll send me a letter, and I'll take care of all your needs. Don't worry about it. And the child thinks for a minute and says, okay, that's great. But you know what? Sometimes I'm not going to ask you. I'm just not going to realize that that's what I need to do. So I'm asking you that you should keep on asking about me. When you see people who come from the place that I am, ask how I'm doing, call my teachers and find out what, like how I'm managing. If my friends are coming or someone you know is coming, send something for me. In other words, don't always wait for me to come to you with my needs, but you keep on asking and looking out for me. And that's what David HaMelech says, that's what we are asking Hashem. Al techarash mimeni, don't only wait for us to daven and ask you for what we really want or for what we really need, but you, Hashem, keep inquiring, keep asking us, so to speak, about what we need. Keep looking at us and seeing what is it that she needs, what is it that she wants, and provide us with those things. Into Pasuk Beis, Shema kol tachnunai. Please listen to the sound of my tachanunim, my prayers, my pleas. B'shavi elecha, when I cry out to you. B'nasi yadai, when I raise my hands. El Dvir Kodshecha, towards your holy place. So the Radak says that here David HaMelech is painting us a picture of a person who is desperate and calling out to Hashem. And then the Radak says, from this pasuk we can learn different tricks on how to get Hashem's to listen to us, to make our tefillahs work. So the first one, he says, this is the most important thing. Take notice that David HaMelech calls our tefillahs over here tachanunai. Tachanunai doesn't just mean prayers, but it means please, as in plea, not please. So it says, if you want your prayers to work, they must come from your heart. There must be a tachanun, okay, a plea from our heart, and that's one of the first ways that we get our prayers to work. He then gives another suggestion of how we should get our prayers to work. He says, when I cry out to you with my hands raised. It says in the olden days, people davened, if they really meant what they were saying, they lifted up their hands and they davened with their hands out. We hardly see that anymore. We have one man who used to come to our shul, used to stand in the back of the shul and raise his hands when he davened, and everybody thought he was a little bit nutty, but he obviously learned it from a good source, this idea, because if you think about it, when we talk even to our friends or our things, we use our hands. That's what us Yidden do. And so the Radak says, do this even more when you're davening. Use your hands also. In other words, use your whole body to show Hashem what it is that you want. And El Dvir Kodshecha, to daven towards the Kodesh Kodashim, which is our custom, and according to many, it's halacha, to face Yerushalayim, to face the Beis HaMikdash, to face the Kodesh HaKodashim, which we do specifically when we daven Shemona Esrei. It then goes on to the next pasuk. Al timshacheni im reshaim. Don't let me be cross paths with or come near to wicked people. The impale aven, those who are evil. Dovrei shalom im re'ehem, the ones who speak peace with their neighbors. V'ra'a bilvavam, but in their hearts there's bad or there's hate. And according to Malbim, this is the whole reason for this chapter of Tehilim, that David HaMelech says, please keep me away from these kinds of people. These kinds of people are really dangerous. And which kind of people is the most dangerous? Says almost all the Mefarshim, but the Malbim is specifically what I'm following here. He says, Dovrei Shalom Imre'ehim, those people who seem to be your friend, those people who seem to be speaking peace to you, Ra'a bilvavam, but in their hearts they don't have your good, they only have bad intents. And I think in English we call them hypocrites. Say the commentaries, these are the most dangerous of all people. That you think they're your friends, but they really are not your friends at all.
And David had plenty of that.
Yeah.
David
had that many times. And King Yanai, it says that before he died, when he gave his wife his last wishes, I think he said, he said, don't fear righteous people, don't fear unrighteous people, fear only hypocrites. He says that for all of us, we have to know that the only people who we have to be really scared of are hypocrites. And David HaMelech says, Hashem, don't even let me cross paths with them. What should you do to these people? Tein lahem kafa olam, and give them like the way they behave. And the like the bad of their deeds. Pay them back for the things that they've done. And give them what they deserve. So at a simple level, David HaMelech here is saying to Hashem, punish them. They behave in this way. Pay them back. Give them whatever punishment that's due to them. But a slightly deeper understanding of this, David HaMelech is asking Hashem something interesting. He says, Tein lahem, give them whatever deeds they've done that are good. Give them the reward for it. Give it to them immediately, so that there's nothing they have no credits. There's nothing good that they should be getting, because Tehilim, you've already given it to them, and now the only thing that's owing to them is bad and punishment. And David HaMelech explains why he feels this way. He says, Ki lo yavinu es pa'ulas Hashem. They are not aware, they don't understand the work of Hashem. Ve'el ma'asa yadav, and the things of his hands. He tears them down, they tear them down, and they don't build them up. And again, the Mepharshim explained to us, or the Medrash actually says, this pasuk is for all of us. Do you want to understand Hashem? Do you want to build a relationship with Hashem? Do you want Hashem to listen to you? Then one of the things that you have to do is you have to start looking at the things that Hashem does, as El Pu'ulas Hashem, the work of Hashem. And the Medrash says, what are the Pu'ulas Hashem? What is the actions, the deed that Hashem has done? And the Medrash says, if you want to have a good relationship with Hashem, have a look at how the planets work. See how planets go around in the sky and how they don't bump into each other and how they provide light, and see how the universe works. Have a look at how the seasons work. We have a summer and a winter, and we have a spring and an autumn. Says, think about it. Think about the amazing thing that last week was cold and this week is warm. This is the work of Hashem. It says, learn the stories of Agada. Agada are like almost strange stories, but when we read them, when we learn them, it instills Yiras Hashem, it instills God, the fear of God in us, and it makes us believe in Him even more. And a big thing, says the Medrash, say brachas. A person who says brachas is acknowledging that every single thing in this world belongs to Hashem. He made the apples, He made the wheat, He made the light. And if we train ourselves in these things to look at the Pa'ulas Hashem, the things that Hashem did, this will make us have a relationship with Hashem that we'll be able to daven and have Him on etc. The Mepharshim continue and explain that these words, Ki lo yavinu el pa'ulas Hashem, is something we have to keep on telling ourselves over and over again. We cannot understand the way Hashem works His world. And it's even arrogant to try. We cannot understand what Hashem is doing at any level, good or bad. We don't understand why He does good. We don't understand the bad that He does, what is actually happening. And not only talking about big, huge things, even little things, we don't understand what Hashem is actually doing. And he says, when we try to understand and we start labeling things and we say, this is good and this is bad, what are we actually doing? We are tearing down the work of Hashem rather than building the work of Hashem. Chazal give us a mashal. So the person wants to build a house, and he starts cutting down trees. And the people all around shout and they say, you can't cut down trees. He says, I have to cut down trees. I want to build this house. He says, no, it's bad to cut down trees. So he stops cutting down trees. And what's the result of that? He can't build a house. He doesn't have wood. So we don't know what's good and what's bad. We only know what feels good and what feels bad. That's what we understand. And so says Chazal, we lo yavinu el pa'ulas Hashem. We don't understand Hashem's world at all. Yes, we have to beg Him, ask Him, plead with Him, whatever word it is, that whatever He does for us, we should feel it as good and we shouldn't feel it as bad. But somewhere in our minds, and we have to know that we don't understand. We have no understanding at all of Hashem's world. And the Gemara gives, I think, almost the silliest of examples, if we could say that about it. It says that one day Rabbi Eliezer was walking and he saw a very, very ugly man. And he said to the thing, what a ugly face. What a repulsive, ugly face you have. And the man looked at him and said, tell the person who made it. And suddenly Rabbi Eliezer realized, and he said, I beg your forgiveness, right? I don't understand why Hashem made your face ugly. I don't understand why Hashem does anything that Hashem does, from the smallest, from the smallest to the biggest. Baruch Hashem, this is Pasuk Vav, Baruch Hashem, blessed is Hashem, Kishama kol tachnunai, because he hears the sounds of my pleading, and this is what we need to believe, that whether we've seen Hashem answer the way we want him to or not, that we believe that he's heard us, and he is answering, and then says the Baal Shem Tov actually that the whole secret of this kapitel is in Pasuk Zion. Hashem Uzi Umagini. Hashem is my strength and my shield. By Vatach Libi, in him my heart trusts, Ne'ezarti, and I'm helped. The Ya'alais Libi, then my heart rejoices. Umishiri Ahidenu, and I thank him with songs. So literally at like a historical level, David HaMelech is saying, Hashem's been my strength and my shield. Over and over, Hashem saved David from all various things. Goliath, Yishbi, like Shaul, okay, many times. But at a deeper level, and one that applies to us as well, the more a person believes, then the easier it is for them to face their challenges. If a person really believes, doesn't mean that it will change the outcome, but just the fact that we believe in Hashem, just the fact that we believe that Hashem knows, for whatever reason he's doing, whatever he's doing, it's easier for us to survive. It's easier for us to so he says, if my heart even trusts, then v'ne'ezarti, just that trust already helps me. So it says, again, coming back to David HaMelech at a more literal level, David HaMelech's soldiers didn't let him go into war. After the war with Yishbi, they decided that it would not be good for David HaMelech to go to war, and that it would actually be putting the rest of the soldiers, the rest of the people in danger, and so they made him stay home. And David HaMelech stayed home and davened, and he davened very hard. And he's expressing over here that his davening was, he was as petrified as if he was in the war, but this was all in his heart, because he wasn't actually in physical danger. It was just his army that was in physical danger. But because he trusted that Hashem would look after them, by Ya'alez Libi, his heart was able to rejoice and to be happy. The Baal Shem Tov explains. He says that worry and anxiety actually is a result of lack of emunah, of lack of trust in Hashem. It's a hectic statement, I think, because I think that nowadays, the world we live in, we probably all worry, especially females. Okay, we all worry. It's part of our instinct, our nature, and it's the world that we live in is full of anxiety. But if we think about it, if we were able to trust absolutely and completely in Hashem, then we wouldn't worry, because we would just trust in Hashem. And we wouldn't be anxious, because we would just trust in Hashem that whatever has to happen, however it's going to be, that's going to be. And we wouldn't waste so much of our energy and our good health on worry and anxiety. The Baal Shem Tov tells a story. He was one day traveling with the person driving his horse, Reb Mendel, and Reb Mendel was the driver of this horse and carriage, and he finished his water, and he was very, very, very thirsty, and he turned to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, if I don't get a drink, I don't know what's going to happen. And a few hours later, again, he said to the Baal Shem Tov, I'm so thirsty, maybe I'm going to die. And this continued, and the Baal Shem Tov said to him, don't worry. If you stop worrying and trust, Hashem will help you. So he decided, there's nothing to lose now, right? He's either going to die or he's not. But right now, he's going to trust in Hashem. That's going to happen. And so he started trusting in Hashem, davening to Hashem to provide him with water. And very soon after that, a man came past. He stopped the Baal Shem Tov and he said, have you seen 3 horses? I said, no, I haven't seen 3 horses. She says, what's going on? She said, no, my horses ran away. And it's already a few days, 3 days, that I can't find them. I'm just walking around in the forest and looking for my horses. So the Baal Shem Tov said, no, I'm sorry, we haven't seen them, but do you have spare water with you? And he did, and the man got his water. So Reb Mendel said to the Baal Shem Tov, that's amazing. I just want to understand why this person had to look for his horses for 3 days so that I could get water to drink today. So the Baal Shem Tov said to him that if you would have had trust in Hashem 3 days ago, he had already sorted out your water issue. He had already sorted out that you would have, but it took you 3 days to trust that Hashem was going to give you water. And so this man had to wander around looking for his horses for 3 days. Okay, that's a Baal Shem Tov story, but it has the lesson in it. Again, David HaMelech doesn't ever end begin a kapitel of Tehillim without reminding us that whenever Hashem does listen to us, we need to thank Him. And I thank Him with my songs. Hashem is the strength of His people, and He saves His anointed people, and this is obviously alluding also to the fact that David HaMelech davened all the time for Mashiach. Now it seems that this would be a good place for this chapter to end, but it has one more pasuk, and a very famous pasuk. It has the pasuk Hoshia es amecha, save your people, Uvorech es nachalosecha, bless your inheritance, Urem v'nasem ad ha'olam, tend to them and raise them up forever. So this pasuk doesn't seem to have anything to do with the whole rest of the chapter. The pasuk you might know, you might recognize it, especially if you are a shul goer, and if you're in a shul where they struggle for a minyan a little bit for whatever. And this pasuk, if you have a look at it, it has 10 words, and it is traditionally the pasuk that is used when you want to see if there's a minyan, if there are 10 people, because there is a halacha Torah that you may not count people. And some people think that it's okay to say not one, not two, but that's still counting people. So you may not count people, and instead what we do is we have this pasuk which has 10 words in it, and we say this pasuk, and if there are as many people as there are words in the pasuk, then we know that there are 10 people in shul. So the Malbim asks, he says, there are lots of psukim with 10 words in. Why this pasuk? There's another famous pasuk that has 10 words in, which is in Matovu, the pasuk of V'ani b'rov chastecha avovesecha, right? Also has 10 words. Why don't we use that pasuk? Why are we using this pasuk? And how does this pasuk end? How does it summarize this whole chapter of Tehilim? And so the Malbim answers. And in very brief, it's a beautiful Malbim that I'll just give you in a little bit briefly. He says that what David HaMelech does throughout Tehilim is Tehilim is almost like a diary of David HaMelech's. He tells all his stories. He tells about his guilt with Bathsheba. He tells about running away from Shaul. He tells about various wars. And yet we know about Tehilim that it applies to us. And every single chapter of Tehilim has something in it that applies to me today. So this chapter of Tehilim, what does it do for me? What am I seeing in this chapter of Tehilim that is going to affect me, that applies to me today? And he says the Malbim, this is Hoshia es amecha uvarech es nachlasecha. If you want to know what Tehilim is all about, if you want to know what this chapter of Tehilim is all about, if you want to know what any chapter of Tehilim is all about, it's about the fact that we believe that Hashem will look after us. Hashem will take care of us. Hashem will look after us, simply because it's not just the diary of David HaMelech talking about his struggles and his challenges, but it's David HaMelech who is talking about his challenges and saying to us, you Yidden, also when you have challenges, will be saved the same way I will. And just as I was saved with Emunah, you will be saved with Emunah. And just as I was saved with whatever that he says in a different chapter, Each chapter will tell us different ways that we can face our lives, just as David faced his life, and we can also be saved. And this is the same thing that when we're about to go and daven, and we want to know, are there enough of us here to daven? Or we just want to know how many people are in the room, or whatever it is. What is the thing that we have to remember all the time that will give us strength to survive? I need to have emunah in Eibishter. And how will I have emunah in Eibishter in my every single day challenges? I know that Hashem will save his people. And I know that Hashem will bless his people. He'll raise them and he'll lift them ad ha'olam forever, which means the promise of Mashiach, and it means that once we have the third Beis HaMikdash, it will never be destroyed. It is at ha'olam, it is a forever, eternal thing that we are waiting for and believing in. And that brings us to the end of chapter 28. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a good Shabbos. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce Terry.